Good morning. Happy Monday, LinkedIn. Welcome to another edition of Let's Build Profoundly with our next pro introduction, Matthew Ruxton. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. It's been way too long, man.
No, we used to meet every Friday, and then the holidays happened, and then January. I'm still a little awed that it's now
We're
February. I'm like,
done with
oh,
January.
we're in February now. Okay, we're all can agree we're in February now. Great.
Yes, exactly. We are.
It's like January just took way too long.
I know.
I'm like ready for January to be over.
Yes. Well, it's over but we're continuing our kind of launch series as it's been fun 10 days now since we launched Profoundly. And this has been a really fun series, especially with people like yourself, where we've done another series, but we never really got into the nitty gritty of who Matthew Ruxton is. So that's what I get to do today. And I've been doing a good job of staying on format. So
Right.
I guess this is going to work out.
That's why we don't. That's why we need you at our other show because we're not good at staying on format. We just bounce around endlessly. It'll be
I
good.
know.
It'll be good. The
Yeah,
chaos crew isn't here. That is the benefit today.
exactly.
It's just you and me.
Exactly. Just part of it.
Yep.
So, on that note, we'll get on format and ask the question, what is your HubSpot expertise and where does it come from?
Yeah, so I've now been in the HubSpot ecosystem like full-time officially for now about almost going on 5 years now. I came into HubSpot just around the COVID times of Yonder. That was kind of when I was doing kind of a little career change in my mind. Prior to that, I'd done a lot of post-sale and SaaS, a couple specific industries. But I was doing primarily post-sale work. So I'd done a little bit of customer support, a little bit of customer success, a little bit of onboarding. Really actually enjoyed doing customer onboarding and implementation management. And then stumbled into HubSpot like a lot of people do. Became kind of an accidental admin. I don't know if anyone's coined that term, but I don't know if anyone's trademarked that
Feels
term, I
like
should
they
say.
have.
I feel like someone's trademarked it by now, but definitely became an accidental admin and then kind of found my calling there and just kind of grown from there and helped a couple of different companies as kind of their on-site admin and help a couple companies on the side as a consultant with getting their HubSpot set up and organizing in a really nice fashion. And really, my focus has always been on let's get you operationally sound. I'm not a huge. There are lots of partners, lots of agencies out there that do onboarding into HubSpot. I think that's wonderful, but I think where a lot of people struggle is they don't necessarily need like an onboarding person. They just need help with like figuring out the operationalization of their HubSpot. Like, how do I get this to work day to day? How do I get this to be the place I'm going to work from? How to get my teams on board? How do I make sure that it's working? I'm paying all this money. What am I actually netting benefits out of it, or is it creating more work for me? So that's what I love to help out with.
So
Yeah, that's kind of
actual.
so probably actually onboarding, not the sort of like no dig on HubSpot, but not their professional services onboarding, which I did. I was part of that program for 1 week, so I know how professional services onboarding works at HubSpot. But I feel like there's a lot of value in getting your process figured out, and then once you get your process figured out, how can HubSpot be the boxes to hold that process and make sure that you get the process followed and then the data to follow that can help you make decisions.
Yeah. So as you let's dig into that challenge. Like when you walk into those situations, like what is the disconnect with the HubSpot customer and like especially when they've gone through onboarding already? Like what are you looking at first?
I I honestly find that like I usually take a little bit of time to spread out and look at like what they've built beforehand. Like when I go in, like let me see if I can figure out what's here. Because I think that's the biggest issue I see walking in is I'll come into a portal, someone will grant me access, and I'll go into a portal and I'll kind of just mosey around. I won't ask that many questions out the gate. I'll kind of just go in, see what's going on, see what objects are being used heavily, what's not being used, what's been set up and abandoned, like that sort of stuff. I think the kind of lay of the land. But a lot of times I think is people go into HubSpot like with this promise of like HubSpot's going to fix all their problems. And it can. But if you go in and you don't have good internal process for your own business, you cannot succeed effectively in HubSpot. You will probably eventually get there, but not on a time frame that's going to give you ROI. So like that is why I'm very big on like, let me come in, let me understand how your business operates. I'm very much a person like, I'm like, cool, I'm a HubSpot person, but we're gonna put that aside. Let me come like sit in on a customer call. Let me come sit in with a salesperson. Let me come sit in with your customer success team. Like I want to see what they're doing every day. I want to live their success. I want to live their pain, and I want to see how we can then use HubSpot to craft a solution that is much more, you know, built for them and built for what they need to do and can actually guide them through their process. Because a lot of companies will go get, and this doesn't even just apply to HubSpot, they'll go get any CRM. And you'll come in, because I've been here, you come into an organization, you're like, yeah, we use HubSpot for our CRM. Like, oh, awesome, great. And you come in as like a CSM and you're like, cool. So you go in, and if you know you've used HubSpot before, you're like, okay, you might be familiar with how it was set up at your last company. So you go in, you see the companies, but like there's nothing there. And you're like, oh, okay. So like, where are you like tracking things? Like, where are you doing this? And like, you just can't find anything. You're like, where? You're like, oh, well, we actually have a spreadsheet for that. And then you just die on the inside because you're like, great, we're actually using the CRM. So like, my goal is that like HubSpot can be your big spreadsheet, replace your big spreadsheet. When it comes to management and just customer management, you can then make it actionable as well in the same place. So whatever I can do to kind of see those pain points and see those things that they really need and craft a HubSpot experience that guides them through that process so that a new employee can walk in on day one and very easily pick up okay, I do this in the business, that maps this in HubSpot. I do this in the business, that maps this in HubSpot. I do this in business, that maps this in HubSpot. And very quickly get a very clear view of what they need to do. So they're not asking 1,000 questions on day one. Of like, what's next? What's next? They can kind of see in HubSpot, okay, well, after I do this, cool, I need to do this. Oh, I can't move to this step because this is required. Okay, cool. Like they can start to kind of piece together their process. And then hopefully by the end of it, this has happened kind of accidentally almost with every customer contact I've worked with, is we end up writing documentation because like by the time we've built it all, they're like, cool, this is actually a good process. I'm like, great, well, let's document it so that going forward, you actually have a piece of paper that says this is what you're doing. You can then refer back to after engagement is over. So I think that is the biggest thing is like helping people really orchestrate their business process and then the magic happens when we can say, great, let's build that in HubSpot now. And then they get to see it kind of come to life and they get to see, all this data that they didn't know before and all these they get these dashboards delivered every week. And they're like, wow, I don't have to like get up at 8:45 in the morning and like pull 5 reports and do this and send an email to my boss. It just emails to my dashboard. I'm like, yeah, they get what they need right away. They're like, wow, I can like, sleep in for 15 minutes. And I'm like, exactly.
Or
And
export them
that's,
into Excel and then build the
yeah,
reports
like, and
yourself.
then run a pivot table and then like do this and like, no, just like it's in HubSpot. So that's kind of like, that's why I love to see. And like, it's super rewarding, I think, as a professional in this space when you get to see a company come in and they're just like unsure, like not ready. And like, I've had companies that are like ready to get rid of HubSpot. They're like, I am like, you are our last hope. It's like, I've heard great things. Let me, we are ready to like move to something else. And I'm like, moving to another CRM is a very painful choice. So I'm like, if we can avoid you moving, and it's not because I think HubSpot's the best CRM in the world, because it's a great CRM, but there are businesses that HubSpot does not work for. There are other CRMs out there now that might be a better fit for you. I strongly believe that a lot of people get HubSpot for the right reasons, and they just don't get it implemented the correct way, and that's what they need. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. But let's take a step back. Uh, Outside of HubSpot, who is Matthew Ruxton?
Well, you just got to see my wife like run in. The only time she'd ever run in a meeting to bring me food. So I live in Florida. I live in a little tiny town called Parrish, which I tell that to people unless they live anywhere near me, they don't know where that is. But it's south of the Tampa Bay area. Really nice, close to beaches, close enough to beaches that I can get the beach breeze, but not close enough that my car is full of sand all the day. That's kind of the nice balance that you have to hit after a while. I'm I'm from Scotland. I have no accent anymore, but I got my US citizenship back in 2020 also. So that was super fun, like end of an experience. I feel like that was kind of one of my big moments for me. Is like I got my citizenship in 2020. And then I was like, man, what's my next big project? And then kind of like HubSpot kind of landed in my lap that same year. So it's like, I think that's kind of, I've moved all the drive and energy I put in towards immigration work into HubSpot. So it's, yeah, I'm just a fun person. I think I mentioned that in our in our Slack community, we talk about this. Is like, what's a fun fact about you? I'm like, if I'm not talking about HubSpot, I'm talking about Disney. So we should stay clear. We should make sure we change the subject very soon. Otherwise, I'll start rambling on about
I
Disney
mean, I
again.
was gonna lean into it. I just watched
I mean,
Moana 2
I'm,
yesterday, and
how'd you like it?
it was enjoyable. I'm pretty easy to please when it comes to movies, so yeah, I appreciated it.
I think it was a good movie. I think it's a sequel. I just think sequels are weird. I'm like, some sequels are great, some sequels are not. Like, I stand behind that the best Toy Story movie was Toy Story 2. And I'm like, some people have strong feelings about that, but I'm like, storyline was great. I go back and watch, like, so much so I have two kids, and I've shown them Toy Story 2 first before I've shown them Toy Story, because I feel like Toy Story 2 does a better job of laying the storyline than Toy Story did. So that's my hot take for today.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I know I love, and I think a lot of that love for Disney shines through not just as like the nerdiness of Disney. Like, I promise I don't go into client portals and name things after Disney characters, but I do apply a lot of their like their business logic and a lot of their like customer service mentality to all their businesses. And I say that like there's something Disney does a lot of things well when it comes to managing customer experience and managing customer expectations. And you can take you're not everyone is running a multi-million dollar theme park industry business, but you definitely have customers and you definitely have expectations that they have of you and you have expectations of them. And you can definitely take some of those pieces of feedback and apply them in any business. And I think that is something that is super important. And especially in how we manage customer data and how we manage that relationship, it's super important to focus on making sure the customer feels seen and heard and noticed and part of the business rather than just like transactional partner. I think that's the most important thing to me. The minute you start to think of a customer as part of your business, as part of your team, and not the other team, I think is a very important shift in mindset that can supercharge what you're doing and really make you rethink how you interact with them.
Yeah, I always love learning whenever the Disney use case or case study comes up as far as customer experience. Like there's always something more to learn. It's just such a complete like effort,
Yeah.
especially when you're there. The way they talk to you, the way they onboard, their teams, and it's all in sync.
And they do a great job of operationalizing too. Like if you want to get like, and I said this is like you can get nerdy about like, oh, customer service. Like I'm not a customer service person. Like I'm an operations person. So like it doesn't really apply to me. And I'm like, well, they do a great job of operate how they operationalize a lot of their stuff. Like you can watch it and it's precision. Like they know and their staff know where they need to be. They know what they're supposed to be doing. They are prepared, they are ready, they go. And but the best example I give someone is if you ever go to a theme park, when a parade happens in a theme park, that is a huge operational nightmare because you're taking a park that normally has just guests wandering aimlessly around, and you're telling them for like approximately 35 minutes they can't be on this road. Like, and you see how terrible like any Department of Transport does with that. Like everyone's sat in traffic, so like for roadworks, it's like you've seen it, but like it's the same thing, but like with people, and we know people are not always the most active listeners when it comes to things. But watching Disney set up for a parade, to have the parade come through with no incidents, and then clean up for the parade, like in a space of an hour, you would never have known a parade had come through. Like it's that efficient. Like it's just so there's so many key learnings that can be taken away from that you can apply to like how you build your process and especially how you build your process in HubSpot too. I think that there's so much value in learning watching that and saying, how do I make my process simple but effective, and how to make sure everything has a reason for existing in the step that it's in. It really makes you rethink a lot of like things, especially when it comes to like workflows. Like I'm constantly in workflows for clients. And I'll see workflows and I'm like, why is this workflow doing? What's the reason for this workflow? And people are like, we just needed it. I'm like, that's not a reason. I'm like, what's the reason for this workflow? What is the goal of this workflow? What's it trying to achieve? And then when they can't give me an answer, I'm like, cool, then you don't need it. And they're like, what? I'm like, you don't need it. It's just running for the sake of running. And Lord help the day HubSpot decides to charge us on like workflow runs, because I think a lot of companies will be in for a shock when that happens. But it's I do believe that like a lot of people just build, they get workflows and they just go nuts. They're like, oh my God, because I did it too. When I first got workflows, I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. I can automate everything. But if you automate with no plan, it all falls apart very easily. So I think it's really valuable to think about, be very discreet and think about what exactly why you need something. Do I need to automate this? Is there value in automating this? And even then, once it's built, it's not built. It's an iterative process. You've got to go back. You've got to go change it. And HubSpot moves, as you and I both know, HubSpot moves at a rate that is insane in terms of product development. So you can very easily like build something and then it gets made obsolete by a HubSpot product change. You need to be aware of those and go back and make those changes. Like I think that is something I see a lot of is I'll go into portals and like there's stuff that's built. I'm like, you have this, and like this feature's been around for like a year. Like you don't need this anymore. I've kicked people off of like professional plans because I'm like, you have a professional plan for this one thing that now is a feature that you don't need a professional plan for. Like, let's make, and that was one of their like bugbears. Like, I pay all this money for professional. I'm like, yeah, but you don't utilize it and you don't need to utilize it, and that's okay. So that's the biggest shout for, I think, independent consultants a little bit, is where agencies are often very driven by, they do want you to succeed. And there's lots of great agencies out there. This is not a dig in agencies by any means, because I've worked with agencies before. I have my preferred agencies to work with. But there are a lot of agencies out there that are just trying to get higher and higher and higher in HubSpot's good graces in terms of sales. And they will try their best to keep you in a plan or get you to upgrade. And like there are customers out there who don't need to upgrade, or they're not in a business position where an upgrade is the right choice today. And I think that a lot of people are quick to they want automation and they want more features and they want more large scale stuff. Um, but aren't ready for that because they haven't built the process. And sometimes not having access to that forces you to build that process a little bit better. And
Yeah.
having someone be able to come in and say, hey, this is what needs to be done, I think is huge.
Yeah. And that's how we came together last year. Like when I was newly, trying to find my place in the ecosystem, understanding that a ton of people, they don't need to buy more HubSpot and they don't need you to build stuff for them, but
Yeah.
they need a lot of help
Yeah.
and trying to create. And that's a lot of what's behind, the Profoundly platform, is trying to fill this gap that's been in the ecosystem for a while, which when you like break it down like you just did, it's very commonsensical as to why this gap exists when you understand how everything's structured. But on the point of the pace of change in the ecosystem, from the admin's perspective, like what is your best advice that you like to share with others to try and keep up?
I, well, I mean, I think there's a piece of advice I use like just generally for this year, which has been, which is probably is stolen from a Tom Hanks in a podcast interview, and I don't know, I can't tell you the name of the podcast anymore, but it's the logic of this too shall pass, which is that if everything is running great in HubSpot and everything's perfect, this too shall pass. Something will break, something will fail, something will change. I need to be prepared for that. If everything is going terribly and it's all falling apart and you're like, oh my God, this is awful, this too shall pass. Like things will get better. And like, I think it's very important to focus your energy and attention on the next thing you could improve, while also making sure you do spend some time to go back and say, do you need to go back and audit some of the stuff I've done before? I think people can get very caught up in a build mentality where they're just build, 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 but they're not taking that time to go back and go, well, hold on, let's stop. Check what we've built is actually working before we keep building some more. We're going through that right now where it's like we built a lot of stuff. And as you scale a company, it's very easy to say, this is what we needed then, and it was the right decision at the time, and that's great. But then 1 or 2 years later, you go in and you go, we need to scale a little differently. And like this was great 2 years ago. Now it's not effective for us as a business to continue to scale. And sometimes that means sad conversations where you're dismantling things. And like I've done it where I'm like, I don't want to, this is my baby. I don't want to, like, you get attached to certain things now. So you're like, I don't want to get rid of this. Like I've done that with custom code workflow actions where I built this really great custom code workflow action. And then someone's like, yeah, we're changing direction and we don't need this anymore. And I'm like, but
Hmm.
but I spent so much time on this and so much debugging and many late nights and Celsius is later. But that's okay. And I think that is it's a healthy environment to live in. And it's something I think a lot of admins, even if you're not a consultant, even if you're just someone managing a HubSpot, even if you're doing it as a side gig at your current job, I say make sure that you are taking the time to audit as much as you're building new things, because it's a slippery slope to just build, 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 and then you get to the top of that slope, and then you realize you need to fix something, and then it requires, oh, I need to go back to this. Well, then I also need to fix this, and then you're back to the bottom of the hill and realize I can't fix. I got to start over, and like that's painful. That is a painful moment when that happens. It's happened to me before. I am very much now I'm very strong opponent for like we make a change. Okay, let's make sure everything is still working. Let's make sure everything is still what everyone wants, and then make that plan of having a recurring schedule that says I'm going to go audit my workflows quarterly. I'm going to audit my reports and dashboards quarterly or monthly, depending on your business schedule. Make sure that you're spending the time doing that, because I think that is vital to keep your HubSpot portal healthy. If you have a small portal, it's not hard to do. If you have a large portal, you may need to hire some people. And if there's any reason to advocate for hiring someone within your organization or getting a contractor in to help with that, like that's it. It's the perfect contractor role, honestly, is like to have someone come in and audit, because you have someone who is new, who is fresh, who's not been living in it, who did not build it, coming in and auditing it, and they're going to give you some hard truths. And the hard truths hurt, but you need to hear them, because ultimately it will make a better portal. It'll make a better experience for you in HubSpot, and people will appreciate that you are taking the time to fix issues, because sometimes people have complaints and they just don't tell you. It's so easy. They're like, it's small. Like, I don't, you don't, you're busy. Like, you're one person. Like, I don't need you to know. And like, they wait, and it festers, and then it will grow on them, and then they'll just grow to resent HubSpot for absolutely no reason. And one day you'll go up to them like, hey, I never hear from you. Like, you love HubSpot. Like, I hate it. And they're just like, like, and it was like, I couldn't set my from email in Service Hub. So I've had to change it every day. And I'm like, oh, there was a beta like 9 months ago that changed that. It takes like 3 seconds. Like, that's why it's important to like go back and audit and like talk to your teams and make sure people who are using the HubSpot are part of the building process, but also part of the auditing process too. It is
Yeah.
very much a team sport. It is not an individual sport by any means.
Right.
Your work,
And
it is a team.
yeah,
Talk
and
to
I
your
think
people. I
that's
think that's the most important thing. Like, talk to your
yeah,
people.
exactly. Like, and that's where like the conversation around, that's been, I don't know, raging is not the right word, but it's a lively conversation about what is the role of a HubSpot admin, I think, because, early on or still in a lot of organizations, that's the fixer. Like that's the person who's just supposed to make sure it's working and fix stuff. But as soon as you enter into like onboarding and adoption and this whole team sport mentality, all of a sudden it's this layer of communication skills and people management skills that gets added on. And so we're going to be talking about that at the kickoff on March 6th. We have a special panel discussion about that's titled, what is a HubSpot admin? How would you answer that question?
I would say that and you kind of broke up a little bit there, so I kind of got half a question. Do you mind repeating it?
How would you answer the question, what is a HubSpot admin?
I hate this term because it feels very overused in job descriptions, which is player coach. But I think it's very much you have to be comfortable wearing multiple hats. Like and I will say I think like there is no perfect admin out there. We all have our skills and we all have our weaknesses, and as long as you can identify your weaknesses, that makes itself a skill. But I think you have to have a good mix of technical knowledge. So you've got to know the platform. Like I think that is a baseline need. Like if someone can't tell you like how workflows work, or they can't tell you like how the different types of properties there are in HubSpot, like run, like these are basic things that people need to know. If you gotta have that baseline technical knowledge, but you've also got to have that ability to talk to humans and like understand the people you work with. Like I think George B. Thomas says it great, is like we are humans helping humans with technology. And for me that is the most important thing. If you're going to go come into a role and company's looking for a HubSpot admin, that is the thing you've got to say. And they've got to understand it, is that like you are not going to be the person that just comes in and just reactively fixes things. And if that is the thing, if you think that's what this job is, it's not. It can be. it's not going to be that, but it's definitely not going to only be that. And I think that you've got to be comfortable having conversations with people and developing a strategic mindset and thinking about how are you going to grow your HubSpot to be effective for people, and grow adoption. And that involves having conversations with people. And if I'll be the first to say, like, I'm not by any means an extrovert, which shocks a lot of people. I'm like, I'll happily go sit in a corner for 2 hours, scrolling my phone. But I will say that, like, I enjoy those conversations with people because I think they're so valuable. You learn so much in like a 30-minute conversation with someone than you will learn just like poking around HubSpot trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people don't always speak the same language. And that's not even just like an English to Spanish to whatever. It's just like they don't speak the same language of when I talk about properties and actions and index pages, and then they're going like at me like, I just click the button and like it
Yeah.
saves.
I
They
open up
don't,
this
they don't,
tab.
I just click this tab and it works. They don't know. And I think it is very important that you take that time to talk to humans in your company, talk to humans at the places that you're being contracted to work with, and just like get to know how they look at HubSpot and what they terms they use so that you can talk that same language and give them the tools they need to succeed. Because if you can nail that, you can go learn technical stuff. That is not that comes a lot of that also comes with time. Like you'll make mistakes. It's okay, own up to your mistakes. And the one rule I have is like, if I make a mistake, I announce to the world I made the mistake because owning up to that mistake gives you so much more credibility than trying to hide it. But the human aspect of it is so important. You've got to have that social connection with your teams so that
Yeah.
they, know you're there for them.
Yeah. And then most times it's like the only real way you can learn about how they are using HubSpot and what they need to do with it. So I think that's a great answer. And I thank you so much for joining us today
Yeah,
and
always fun.
sharing a little bit more about yourself. If anybody's watching this and you want to become a Profoundly Pro like Matthew, join us at Profound. And there you can also sign up for our kickoff, which is March 6th from
Thanks.
11 a.m. Eastern to 2 p.m. We got a bunch of tracks, a bunch of sessions lined up. It's going to be a great day. No pitches is our promise to you, just straight value. So we're excited about that. Thanks so much, Matt.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.